Our bye week, working on fundamentals, and we spent quite a bit of time getting ready for Boise State. We are healthier than we have been in quite some time, which is good to know. We went through a pretty rough stretch there with some injuries. It's great to have Austin Ford out, Nico Evans, Javon Bigelow, so we'll be much more fortified there. We're in hopes to have Patrick Arnold. We'll know a little bit more during the course of the time. Tyler Hall, we're also hopeful for him. He seems to be coming along. I would say C.J. Colton would be doubtful right now. So unlike a lot of our either opponents or colleagues around the country, we try to do a good job disclosing where we're at with injuries. We've had spirited practices. I thought Saturday's practice late in the afternoon was real spirited. Our players recognize what's on the line. We have a great deal of respect for Boise State and Coach Harsin and their program. I know they're listed in the top 25 by coaches, not media. So I think it just shows that the coaches are smarter than you media people. But they deserve to be there. I've watched all their game footage on all three phases of the football. Against Oklahoma State, and I know quite a bit about Oklahoma State. I thought they matched up athletically really well with Oklahoma State, and the ledger just tilted one way because they had two punt blocks. It's hard enough to win a game when you have one punt blocked, and when you have two, it's really hard. And so, but nonetheless, they had two punt blocks. But what I'm saying is that can be corrected, and they've got really good players. I think we got really good players too. We love the fact that we're going to be at home. Our program has gotten more competitive. Our players recognize the challenge that's there playing Boise State and the Broncos, but our players also recognize what a great opportunity. So we're looking forward to embracing this game. Hopefully we'll have a great turnout. I know it's on national TV. It's at 5 o'clock in Laramie, so we're in hopes to have a great home crowd because I do think our players feed off that energy. When you look at Boise State, I think they are an excellent program. You look at their quarterback; it seems like he's been there forever. I've watched a great deal of tape on Rippon through the years. And he's got really good ability. Throws the ball, takes it where it needs to be taken. He's got good mobility, but I don't know if there's a sharper, more cerebral decision maker than him. And Coach Harsin, that staff's done a great job with them. They know who they are offensively, but they have some really innovative schemes, which I applaud them for that because they know how to stress a defense. They do all kinds of different things with different personnel groupings and then plays that come off it, not only drop back pass, different runs, but then also play action pass as well. So that's a real challenge in itself. And when you have a quarterback operating like he does, Rippon is an excellent player. Defensively, I think they're different than us. They're a multi-front team where they bounce in and out. But what has been amazing to me is they pressure a lot, but everything's all tied together. Sometimes when teams take on that mantra, they have an attitude of, we're going to blitz this guy, and you'll just see some unsound plays occur. That's not been the case. Defensively, they're an excellent defense. And they play really stingy defense, and so we're going to have our hands full there. And as I said, they have really good players on the special teams, and I'm sure Coach Harsin's going to clean up those blocks. And so, makings of a great football game. I know as a coach, I'm personally really excited about this game. Really excited that we're at home, and I know our players are as well. So at this time, I'll open up any questions anybody may have out there. Yes, Robert.
Is it also anxious? You've mentioned you get healthier than you've been in a while, just to like you say, have all your bullets in the gun or most of them back to get back. Because when you did it at the start of the season, it looked pretty good.
Right.
Is it really anxious to see what you have with all your bullets in your guns?
Well, I'm anxious. I thought we had a great opening game against New Mexico State, and certainly during the course of that gauntlet of some of the teams that we played, the dynamics of our football team changed somewhat. And our attitude going into the Wofford game was we have to do whatever we got to do just to win the game because, as I said, we were really depleted in a lot of those places, and a lot of these players are back. And not only back, but there's some of our players that were playing, and they were playing because they were just banged up. And I think those bumps and bruises are starting to heal. And then also, when you get into conference play and you're playing a team like Boise, that's an added edge as well. So we're excited about having our players back, and then also just being a little bit more refreshed. Now, I also know that, it was probably a timely buy for Boise as well. And so you've got two, I think, really good teams on the mountainside here that are going to get ready to play Saturday. Yes.
Do you see advantage or disadvantage as to where they show up on your schedule? And do you think, with the fact that you guys are the one team that's knocked them off the Mountain Championship in the last few years, that there's a little bit extra energy for them towards you?
First of all, I believe that Coach Harsin really does a great job. They do what they do, and they prepare their football team. Maybe there was a time that because of our past performances that maybe some of their players might have thought that this is just Wyoming. I think that we've had a couple competitive games, so we're anticipating that they'll be ready to play. But I can tell you also on the flip side, our players are embracing this challenge as well. It's going to be a really competitive atmosphere, a really competitive game. Where the games fall at on the schedule, Coach Brian would probably say the same thing I would say. The fact that we have a bye week and they have a bye week, that kind of neutralizes things. I always look at that as an added advantage. But where it's at, it's early in the year. We play them as they come.
Coach,
Yeah, go ahead.
Keon, probably having to step in again for CJ. I know Walker didn't throw the ball a ton, but I guess what did you see from him as a starter last week?
Keon has got really good ability. He runs well. He's got good ball skills. We felt really good about almost sharing time with those two guys. And so he, with Antonio Hall, feel good about the combination there. And Keon's done a good job. He's a student of the game. As I said, he's got good athleticism. He runs well, I think, in the back.
Coach, coming off the bye week, you said it was spirited practices. How would you describe the mood after, I guess, how would you read your team coming in 2-2 right
Well,
now?
I can tell you after the game that we were a beat-up football team. Now, there was a sense of confidence that we could overcome adversity and win sometimes not exactly how everything just goes along, and so that shows some character building. But they needed a couple days off, and we gave them some time off. And as the week progressed, as we got deeper into the Boise State game plan, it really peaked. Saturday, I thought, late Saturday afternoon, all our coaches came back off the road, and it was a spirited practice. It was probably as much energy as what we've had since, right before New Mexico State, which is encouraging. Yes, Robert.
Getting guys back, what does it mean to get Austin Ford back at tight end? Not only to give you just another guy there, but, I know he was a starter going into the season and counted on to do some big things with his size and athleticism. How big of a factor can that be to get him back?
I think first and foremost, he's one of our elected captains, and his voice carries a lot of respect in our locker room. He adds great maturity, and so it's going to be great to have him back in our offense. We utilize tight ends a lot, as does Boise, and a lot of teams don't do that. And we had gotten pigeonholed quite a bit on really being handcuffed. And so the fact that you've got a guy that can stretch the field, he's got good ability, he can block and he can move, and has a good understanding of our offense, that in combination with Tyree, we're back to our normal self offensively. So having Austin's physical presence is great, and also now you've got one of our main leaders on our football team that's playing, and that helps.
Boise was playing a lot of man against Oklahoma, and I watched that game. What is your plan of attack to that man coverage from Boise?
Boise's always done that, and then there's different combinations that they have, and it's just not like they're going to line up and play man all the time. I mean, they're going to mix a man and zone, and that poses challenges for us. There's things that we have to do to be able to beat some guys one-on-one. We feel like we've got some players to do that. And then there's also some schemes that if you know that you've got high tendencies to be in man at certain times, you're going to call man beater routes, and it just comes down to the magical formula of matching those two up. Yes.
I know you guys played a couple of Power 5 teams, but opening conference play against a team like Boise, what kind of measuring stick do you expect that to be? What do you hope to learn about your team?
They're, like I said, they're they're rated in the top 25 in the coaches poll, and that's well deserved. And they've got really good athletes, and they have a great program. And so as a result, you're going to get measured against, I think one of the better teams in the Mountain West, if not the best team, and it's going in. And so I think it gives us another opportunity to see how good we can be. I can tell you, some of the teams that we played, I think have been good nationally. I watched the USC Wazoo game, and that, quite frankly, did not surprise me. And so but these guys are as good as there is out there. Yeah.
You mentioned about, you're excited for this game, but, not that long ago when you got here, Boise kind of ran roughshod over a lot of teams in this league, but after beating them once, and it was a good game last year, is there, in a sense, too, there's also a pretty strong belief within the program that, not that you'll go out and win, but
right.
It's just a different belief, I guess, now than there was maybe 3 or 4 years ago when you guys were playing Boise.
Different belief even by me. I can remember the first couple of years when we were out here and I looked up in the stands and, there was a snowy night and they were hanging about 60 points on us, and, the next year wasn't a whole lot better. That began to change in year 3, winning mentality, a competitive mentality that let's not just look to go out and try to compete, let's go out and look to win. And so that attitude has certainly changed, and you can't quantify that. That's an important factor, and that comes into a deep belief in these players, not only their level of commitment, but their deep belief in one another that they can win, and we can win.
Good. Looking back at that win 2 years ago here, obviously the first time they come back since then, just how, big of a win did that end up being in terms of the step the program took forward that year?
A lot of our fans, as I traveled around the state, I'd encourage them to get season tickets because I said, there will be a game that you will remember and that will be a watershed or a turning point in the program. And I think that certainly was. Not that we've arrived by any means, but I think we're in a different place. And sometimes you need to do some things that are somewhat non-conventional to do that, whether it was Josh Allen running 50 yards, throwing the ball sideways in the back of the end zone to Tanner, or coming up with a safety or things like that. So there's a belief that we can win, and we had a special group of seniors, and I think Josh did a lot for us too. I don't know if anybody in this room saw some of the highlights that he played yesterday. I jotted a note to their head coach. He probably wants to strangle him for hurdling the guy, but he did the same things here. We're in a different place, but I can tell you Boise's still kind of viewed, they're viewed as one of the premier programs around the country. Yes.
Coach, with the added addition of Nico and Javon back, do you feel you can maybe move your offense a little bit forward, given Tyler's performance and kind of balancing out that run pass that you guys like?
Yeah, we need to be a blend, and we need to be able to run the football. I think without question Nico was our most talented running back, and that was evident during the first couple games. And having his presence back also as being one of our team captains makes a difference, and then also some depth. And we went into the last game with one running back. And there were a couple converted guys that we were just trying to run out there on Thursday to work on some things with protection. So we're in a different place, and having Nico back and having Javon back is certainly going to help, and hopefully we can be balanced.
Speaking of that last game, how much of a growth was that for your quarterback?
I thought it was a great, you cannot replicate what occurred during that game for Tyler. And to manage the clock, to get the ball in the right places, to come up with a big 4th down throw, and then for the touchdown. I think I saw a different change, not exponentially, but there's a different maturity level with Tyler. I think he's gone through that 2-minute gauntlet like that, and he performed well. And that nothing breeds success like success, and so we're really pleased for that. And now he'll need to be on his A game. I mean, we've talked about peaking at the right time, and that's what's going to take for us to beat Boise, is for us to peak, and he's going to be a big portion of that. Okay, I think I know we have some people online here. Be more than happy to answer any questions by any of our online audience.
Yeah, Coach, I want to ask you about how your defense, how you kind of would assess how they've done so far. I know obviously injuries have played a factor, but how would you kind of assess where your defense is at right now?
We've been tested against, I think, at least three really talented and quite frankly different offenses. And so we feel good about where we're at, what they've done. They've been able to go in and they've matched probably about 3/4, and we got to be able to finish. Against Wazoo and against Missouri, we're in a dogfight, and we've got to be able to finish off no matter where we're at offensively. I thought we did some good things against Wofford. I know a lot of people may not recognize what Wofford can do, but I've seen what they can do, and so I thought we had a pretty good performance there. Now, we'll need to be playing at our best, but I think we've got, a really good attitude, and I know the coaches, we sit in there, we've got a good plan, and we'll come up with a good plan. Thanks.
And my last one is, you kind of mentioned that the bye week coming at a good time for you injury-wise, but in terms of just where it fell on the schedule, in terms of maybe fixing some things, do you think it came at a good time for you beyond just the getting able to be healthy factor?
Well, that's a good point, and I don't want to say we were on life support, but I knew after the Wofford game we were going to need to not only catch a breather with some time to get healthy, but also that was a pretty intense 3 games that we went through. The first game went off exactly, maybe even a little bit better than we had planned, but to go through the last 3, it was important to take a little bit of a breath and then get back in the dogfight here. And I don't know how. I know I watched all the tape on Boise. I know Troy's turned out to be a good football team. UConn's okay, and like I said, I mean that when I watched the game against Oklahoma State, and I know what kind of team they have, with the exception of the 2 punt blocks, I'm sure that maybe they feel like it's a good time to have a bye too.
And Coach, excuse me.
Go ahead.
Coach, you've been around some good quarterbacks in your time,
Yep.
and you had a chance over the 4 years to look at Brett Rippon. What is he able to do now and this year that you've seen maybe that sets him apart from what he's done the first 3 years?
I think he's operating his offense at a really high level. And when I say his offense, I don't want to say it's an overstatement, but anytime your quarterback is that experienced, that guy better be doing it. He is. Not to say that we're inside the offensive coordinator's brain, but he always seems to be placing the ball at the right place. Doesn't put the ball in harm's way. He's got really good accuracy. It's obvious that the team has a great deal of confidence and belief in him. He's an outstanding player. I've had a chance to, observe him during media days and how he handles himself. He's a top-notch quarterback, and I'm sure Coach Harsin has been really pleased to have him during this time. And the thing that I would say is, when you have somebody like that, boy, really enjoy them, because they don't come along very often.
And what do you see as the greatest challenge in your matchup with Boise State?
Well, first of all, you're dealing with a program that's really stocked with athletes. They've done a really good job recruiting from the last, I don't know how many years. I mean, they're on point with really good athleticism. They play hard. They've got a mature coaching staff that positions their players well. And so you're looking at, sometimes you look at a team and you could say, well, you know what, they're really strong on offense, but they're not great on defense, so we can fashion a game plan that's going to really highlight that. Like I said, with the exception of the punts, you just don't see any weaknesses. And so they've been able to balance a really explosive offense with a dynamic defense, and have been solid in all those forms of the game.
Coach, you talked about having to move players around to get depth at the running back position. Just what kind of challenges does that pose for their original positions where they might be there? And you have to move a running back to a wide receiver, a wide receiver to running back, or a cornerback to running back. In those position groups, what kind of challenges does that pose?
We had to, and we played. One of our running backs has started out as a defensive back. He's still over on offense, but he's gotten, I don't want to say, fairly deep in the depth chart right now. what it does, it somewhat stunts a guy's growth because you're going to probably move him back to that position. At least that's what we have in mind with one of our fellows. Sometimes you can stumble across a really good player, though. Every year you're going to have challenges. Sometimes there's going to be positions that are, I guess, I don't want to say decimated, but you're going to have a position group that for some reason it's like, there's a whole group of guys that get hurt and you have to come up with a plan. And so we certainly have done that. The great news is, none of those injuries that received at the running back position were season-ending injuries. And so we had to come up with a short-term plan, but we didn't have to come up with a long-term plan. Okay, I think that's all about it. Thank you.